I oftentimes think about how language has failed to capture the complexity of changing situations. Things will start to change now that we have AI, but in some sense, I sort of feel like painting gets at it better, like acrylic painting. It can have the right mixture of implication and indirection. It sort of feels like the closer we get to it with language, the more nuance opens up and it becomes more difficult to understand. But like with painting, if you accept a certain amount of indirectness as a given, then you can depict universality by translating it through your medium. I've always felt like that was pretentious, though. Those who depict the essence then conveniently provide the interpretation. I much prefer standards. Standards are the modern apex of universality. Groups of specialists get together and create standards for organizations to follow to create repeatability and reduce process variability. They release the standards and revise them according to the results they produce. It's much better to state the universal than to just pretend it's better left unstated. Usually it's those that intend to take advantage of an unstated universal who are out there insisting that it's unnecessary or useless. The written word is amazing, but description cannot capture everything. But just because it doesn't capture everything doesn't mean what it does capture isn't important and part of forwarding universal human necessity. Logos and universal truth are deeply intertwined, especially within philosophical and theological traditions that emphasize the search for a unifying foundational principle that governs reality. In its philosophical context, Logos often represents the rational structure or order underlying the universe, providing a pathway to understanding universal truths that apply across all contexts and times. Logos as a principle of universal order. In early Greek philosophy, thinkers like Heraclitus conceived Logos as a universal rational principle that governs both nature and human life. Heraclitus saw Logos as an invisible law that structures the universe, suggesting that all things, despite their apparent disorder, follow a rational pattern. For him, Logos was not only an explanation for the cosmos, but also a source of universal truth, a way of understanding how all things are interconnected and coherent despite constant change. In modern philosophy, Logos has been understood in terms of logic, reason, and language, tools used to seek out objective or universal truths. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant viewed reason as essential for discerning universal principles of morality and knowledge, emphasizing that logical reasoning can reveal insights that transcend individual perspectives or cultural contexts. In contemporary philosophy, the notion of universal truth is often contested. Postmodernist thinkers, for example, argue that truth is socially constructed and relative to specific cultural and historical contexts. They challenge the idea of a single objective reality that can be accessed through reason alone. Many philosophers and scientists maintain that there are certain fundamental truths that are independent of cultural or personal biases. Despite the challenges and complexities, the concept of logos remains relevant in our quest for understanding. It encourages us to seek out the underlying order and meaning in the world, to engage in critical thinking, and to strive for a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe. By embracing the power of reason and logic, we can approach the pursuit of truth with humility, openness, and commitment to dialogue and inquiry. Without the written word, life is just chaos. But the written word is dual purpose, meaning the written word amplifies chaos too. It'll be the same thing with AI. Our only hope is to educate a principle of caring into our children as opposed to a transactional principle. What's in it for me? What am I getting from this? We can't always be asking what's in it for me. Almost everything we do affects others negatively in some way or another. It's not a game. This is just a product of our time, though. It's not physically impossible to have a world where we successfully limit suffering and the world is just and fair. It is possible. Currently, our systems just don't create the condition by which it can happen. There's not enough proper control and too much chaos allowed to perpetuate, leading to unstable systems that create unnecessary suffering. Understanding universality and the horrible nature of human suffering is really the first step in knowing how to act. Life isn't a game at all. Those that haven't suffered are the ones who are the most dangerous to us all. Honestly, those that suffer also make it worse by turning it into a war, rather than working towards goals together. But that mentality, either at the top or the bottom, doesn't coincide with basic utility as it pertains to universal human necessity. Universal human necessity is the standard, And that needs to be enforced at the top, the bottom, across all classes, traditions, religions, no exception. If you guys like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.